Now, for the show that brings combat sports stories to life from the great state of Ohio, this is Forged in Ohio.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 60 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren and I'm the host of the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed the content lately surrounding Cage Thunder 25. It was an incredible event and I was just honored to have a small part of that card, and the support shown to the content, especially on social media, has just been incredible. So before I get to today's guest, today's episode, and what will be the final episode of Forged in Ohio in 2023, I have to thank all the Forged in Ohio fans out there. Now, for the reason you are here, today I'm joined by a 4-1 amateur mixed martial artist out of Cleveland, Ohio. He's been very active in 2023, and just last month he finished the year by winning his first amateur bantamweight championship. It's Juan Goins out of Rising Dragon MMA. Thanks for coming on the show, Juan, and welcome to Forged in Ohio.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you as well, man. Since you are a first-time guest on the show, I want to talk about your roots in this combat sports world. Take me back to when you first got exposed to combat sports and then when you officially got into it yourself.
When I was like 5 or 6, I started boxing with my dad. Nothing serious, just kind of hitting mitts, jumping gym to gym, just something we used to do. Then I found football. Wanted to play football. It was my dream to play football. Played my whole life, like Pee-wee leagues. Got into high school, wanted to play football, become a star. They told me I was too small, broke my heart. Wrestling coach found me moping around the weight room. He's like, hey, you should do this wrestling stuff. You look like you'd be good at it. Got into wrestling, and I found MMA through my uncle. Actually, I had the UFC video game, didn't know it was a real thing, didn't know anybody on there, thought they were made up characters. He invited me to a pay-per-view, and I'm like, I thought UFC was just a game. Watched my first pay-per-view, changed my life forever. I was like, I want to do that after wrestling, and it all just snowball effect from there.
So how old were you when you watched that pay-per-view?
I was about 14, 15 maybe. Okay. And I knew wrestling and boxing. That's all I knew. I thought like it was a made up thing. Like I watched Bloodsport, all those karate and mixed martial arts movies, but I didn't know it was a real thing. And first time I saw it on pay-per-view, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that.
So from ages 5 to 6 up until you turned 14 or so, watching that pay-per-view, you weren't really involved because you were chasing your dream to be a football player, right? You weren't really involved in the gym that much in combat sports?
No, never officially in the gym. Just kind of, like I said, just hit the mitts, hit the heavy bag every now and then. Nothing real serious. I knew a little bit of moves, but football was my thing at the time. Once I got into high school, got into wrestling, that's when it all changed.
What position, by the way, were you trying to play in football?
I was trying to play wide receiver. I don't know how I was too small to be a wide receiver, but
hey, we see small wide receivers have success in the NFL, right?
Yeah. But that changed my life. I'm glad I didn't make the team.
Yeah, definitely. So when you watch that pay-per-view as a 14-year-old, you instantly get hooked. Did you look up to any fighters growing up that really inspired you even further to get into the sport?
Oh, yeah. Once I started, to do my research and watch more fights, George St. Pierre, his backstory, the way he fought, what he stood for, he's my favorite fighter to this day. George St. Pierre was my go-to guy. I try to emulate him. I try to, live my life like he does. Like he was a big inspiration for me.
Yeah, there are definitely worse options than George St. Pierre, that's for sure. Do you have a favorite GSP moment, fights, or anything in his career that sticks out?
The one that I talk about the most was when he fought Carlos Condit. I think it was a 4-year layoff because he had knee surgery. And everybody's like, does GSP still have it? Can he still fight this killer of a man in front of him? And I think it was the second or third round. He gets hit with that head kick that drops him. And I remember my heart just dropped. He's like, my hero just got dropped. And I remember just standing up, hands on my head, just, oh my God, what's going to happen? He kind of turtles up, gets back up, pieces Condit up, takes him back down, and winds up finishing the fight strong. That moment I have to say that's my favorite GSP moment.
Yeah, it adds a lot to it, right? When you look up to somebody and you see them go through adversity and get through it, that kind of inspires you and motivates you to do the same in your own career, right?
Oh yeah, in life, period. I mean, it just him coming from the knee surgery. I mean, this is what he does for work. I mean, this could have possibly ended his career, and for him to just keep on, fighting the good fight and still go out there and put on a great performance and get rocked and come back and still fight hard. That was very very inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. So 14, 15 years old, you're watching that pay-per-view. How soon after that were you actually in a gym training?
I have to say the year it was 2014 or 2014 or 15. I know it was shortly after I graduated. I got out of school. I was like, all right, let's find a gym. Let's go train. So I say like 14, 15. That's when I started actively looking for gyms, really training, MMA specific training.
Most fighters I've had on have talked about those rough days in the gym to start their MMA career. Assuming that's the same for you, how did you not get discouraged from those days and instead grow your passion for the sport while you're getting your ass beat a little bit and struggling in the gym those first few days?
Well, coming from a wrestling background, that's how I started wrestling, getting my butt whooped every single day. So I was used to that. So getting my butt whooped with a smile on my face the whole time. I just knew the process. I knew what it took. I know there was going to be people better than me, especially on the ground with jiu-jitsu. I mean, you can't just double leg somebody. I was getting choked out left and right. So it was just like, I know I'm going to get better. I've been through, a similar process before. So I was always optimistic, and it's something I really wanted to do. So going in there knowing I was going to get, the shit kicked out of me, it was just, I was happy to do it.
Is it wild to think about how far you've come from those first few days in the gym to where you are now as a 4-1 amateur mixed martial artist? And we'll get into those fights here very soon.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I watched some footage that I have from back in those days, and I'm just like, oh my God. And I thought I was good then. I thought I was the biggest thing to hit the mat back then. I was like, oh man, I was terrible.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of fighters can relate to that fact as well. You mentioned just looking around for gyms, and I believe you're the first fighter I've had on the show who trains out of Rising Dragon MMA in Cleveland. What about that gym in particular appealed to you, and what's it like training there in Westlake?
Well, now we're stationed out of Brook Park on the west side.
Okay.
We're just transition right now, but I found them accidentally. They were the closest gym to me at the time. I was young. I worked at a grocery store, so I didn't have much money, so my options were limited. And I just walked in. I pretty much put my money on the table. It was like, here, I want to be a mixed martial artist. I want to be a UFC fighter. They're like, okay, kid. So yeah, just totally found them by accident. And just the chemistry with the people and the coaches just kept me there. I mean, I did hop around gyms a little bit, and I wasn't vibing with them. But once I found Rising Dragon, the coaches, the drill partners there, I just kind of connected with them naturally. And ever since then, I've just been with them.
Yeah, what would you say is the distinguishing factor about Rising Dragon MMA? What makes it unlike most other MMA gyms in the state of Ohio? Is it that connection that you felt there in those first few months?
I just think just the type of people that are there, I can connect with easily. But the training, it's just hard work throughout the whole session, throughout your whole camps. It's just nothing but grind, grind, grind. And that's something I came from in the wrestling program. It was just constant grinding, and it's just carried over from wrestling to MMA with those guys. I just jumped from one grind to another, and that's what I love about them. It's just a constant hard work, constant grind, and drilling. I'm a big fan of drilling. Drillers make killers. And we drill. So I think that's the number one thing. Once I jumped into that, it was like, we're going to do this kick 100 times, and then we're going to do it again another 100 times a different way. I was like, this is the way I like to train.
Yeah, I hear a lot of fighters, especially like top names in the sport, they train something in the gym, but sometimes they can't use it in the octagon. And when they actually fight, does drilling help that, knowing that you're practicing it 100 times, that one kick, that it makes it more fluid and more smooth when you actually step in to fight somebody else?
100%. I mean, just looking at all my fights, it looks like I'm drilling. And everything I throw on my fights are things we repeatedly do day in and day out. Some of the stuff I do is just what we do just to warm up. So drilling definitely helps. It's just muscle memory and just doing it a million times in the gym. Once it comes to live, it's just like effortless. You just do it.
Yeah. Other than MMA, you also have a ton of experience in kickboxing, right? In Waco and other tournaments. What encouraged you to compete in kickboxing?
My coach, I told him I wanted to do MMA. He called me a bum for not wanting to do Waco. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So, and those guys come from, that's kickboxing, karate style of fighting anyway. So I was like, it's only right to do that too. And it was a great experience, and it was only going to help, my MMA career anyways. And it's fighting at the end of the day. So that's, my coach calling me a bum is what made me do it.
Yeah, I believe you've won some tournaments and medals in the sport, but I'm not going to be I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in kickboxing. What have you exactly accomplished in the sport?
I went to Waco twice in 2021, and I actually won the tournament in 2023. So that's the most I got. But we train kickboxing all the time.
How does that experience in kickboxing help you in MMA in terms of technique, but also just gaining the experience to feel comfortable in the cage?
With technique, it helped tremendously because it just made everything a lot more smoother because I'm a wrestler first. So it definitely elevated my striking levels like overnight. It seemed like that just doing Waco, even the year I lost, just doing training, kickboxing specific, it helped tremendously. It was, I got to say, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. You fought 3 times in a weekend and you had to make weight every single day, so that you had to be disciplined with your diet, disciplined with your training. It helped me transition into MMA even better.
Do you plan on doing it again in the future?
Oh yeah, I believe it's coming up in February. I plan on definitely competing this year in February or
Sounds
next year.
good.
Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Talking with Juan Goins on Forged in Ohio. Let's get into your amateur fights now. You debuted in 2021 and only had one amateur fight in 2021 and 2022. Of course, some kickboxing in there as well. What's brought on this active year, though, in 2023 that's seen you compete in MMA 4 times?
I think just there was a lot of things that kept me from fighting. Injuries, financial situations, things outside of competition that kept me from fighting. So just the goal this year was just to stay active, win, lose or draw, get the experience, get some fights under my belt. That's what I wanted to do. So it was just, we knew we were ready. We had the skill, we had the discipline. Now it's like, let's finally get out there. Let's get some exposure. Let's get some experience. So I believed in the training. I believed in my ability. So it was just, we went out there and just did it. We didn't care what the outcome was, as long as we executed. I was happy with whatever happened. And I mean, I'm reaping the reward now.
Yeah, that you are, my friend. So would you say being active in MMA is when you're at your happiest in your career, when you're getting 4 fights, or not 4 fights, but 3 fights in a year like you did this year?
Oh, 100%. This is something I want to do. This is something I want to pay the bills with. And just, I mean, I'm not too good at anything else. So staying training, staying in the competition, that's what keeps me happy. And getting in that mindset of just flipping that switch where it's go time. You got somebody in front of you. That mindset throughout the training is different than just your training to get better. When you got somebody in front of you, that fire is just a little brighter.
Yeah, I want to start with your first MMA fight. You won your debut via submission only 40 seconds into the first round. Talk about the experience of competing for the very first time and securing that rear naked choke.
Man, I was nervous as hell. I was like, I've wrestled lots of matches. I've wrestled. I sparred everywhere, on open mat days with bunches of people, but this is the first time I've actually went out to compete in something in MMA. Something I said I wanted to do. I'm like, man, I don't know what's going to go on, how this is going to go down, and it just, like I said, back to the drilling. It happened just as we drill. He came in. a little too aggressive. I took his back, took him down, choked him out. I mean, we drilled that a million times. It was almost unbelievable. I'm like, it's over. Like, that's how it's supposed to go down. My coach is like, yeah, that's what we drill. That's how it's supposed to go down. So it was just, again, drilling muscle memory. That's just how it played out.
I know you were already hooked with the sport and had a big passion for the sport, but winning your first fight the way you did, what was the adrenaline like afterward? And did that just secure the fact that, hey, this is what you really wanted to do?
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt on top of the world. I mean, this is not many people do what MMA fighters do. They go out there, put their body on the line against I don't know, maybe a couple hundred people were in the crowd that night. That's a hard thing to do. So I watch my favorite fighters do this. So I'm on top of the world. I'm screaming, yeah, yeah. But I mean, it only took one night, and I'm like, I want that feeling again. That pass, I want another one.
Yeah, that's why I respect you guys so much for what you do every single time you compete. Do you still get that nervous nowadays when you compete, that like how you were in your first ever fight?
Oh, definitely. I keep a quote that my old coach said. You're always going to have those butterflies, but the goal or the thing you do is make those butterflies fly straight. And I think I do a good job at that. Going, I put in the work. I know I'm a good fighter. I believe in myself. I believe in my coaches. I believe in my training. So keeping that in my head, it just like I said, make those butterflies fly straight. I'm nervous, but I'm nervous for a reason because I have high expectations for myself and I know what I'm capable of doing. So I just got to go execute. So the nerves are still there, but I use it in a positive way.
You won your second fight by decision, but I want to actually touch on your only loss so far. It counts as a knockout for your opponent 14 seconds into the fight. I watched this one on YouTube, and I guess I'll just ask it like this. True or false, the fight was stopped too early?
I do believe the fight was stopped way too early, but at the same time, I put myself in that position. I went out there, I'm not going to lie, totally cocky. I just won Waco. I'm on top of the world. I got momentum. I didn't go out there and fight how I was supposed to fight. I'm not a brawler where I sit down in the pocket and just swing crazy. And that's exactly what I did. Yes, the ref did stop the fight early. I do agree with that. But also, I put myself in that position and I took full responsibility for that. I didn't make any excuses. That wouldn't have happened if I would have went out there and fight the way I fought. But 14 seconds, I mean, that's not a lot to go off of, but it is what it is, and it created another beast. So
Yeah, do you almost feel like you needed that humbling moment in order to grow even further?
oh, 100%. It turned me. I had nightmares about that fight. I had people from my job come out to see me. I had family watching. I'm this big bad guy who just won Waco. So I kind of drank my own Kool-Aid on that one. So it kind of brought me back down to earth. It was like, hey, we're throwing small gloves as hard as we can at each other. Anything can happen. It's fighting. So get off of yourself, get back to the drawing board, and just keep on going. So it didn't make me shy away from the sport. I've lost plenty of times in my life in wrestling and in football and life itself. So it just was like I said, it humbled me, brought me back to earth. It was like, hey, we lost. Let's dust ourselves off and keep going. This is what you want. You got to win like a champion. If need be, lose like a champion. So.
Yeah, you fought just 3 months after that loss. Did you really dwell on it too much, or was it right back to the drawing board and let's get back in there?
Yeah, I wanted to get that back. I wanted to avenge it. I wanted to show people, nah, that's not who I am, because a lot of people actually came out to watch me for the first time for that fight. They've heard, hey, he just won Waco. He has some momentum going. Let's see what Juan is actually about. And I was embarrassed, and I just wanted to get back in there. Like, hey, I am who I say I am. I'm a tough SOB, and I can fight. So just keep watching.
Yeah, that you are, man. You finished 2023 by winning back-to-back fights by decision, and we need to discuss your latest one last month. You beat Logan Fink to win the Bizarro Promotions Bantamweight Championship. What do you think of your performance in that fight?
I'm usually very critical of myself. I always find what's wrong in the fight. For the first time ever, I was proud of my performance. I watched it. Well, now I'm very critical of it, finding all the stuff wrong. But At first glance, I'm like, I'm real proud. The circumstances outside of the cage that led up to the fight, I went through a lot of adversity outside of the cage. I'm a police officer, so lots of stress at work leading up to that fight. So with the circumstances I was dealt with, I was proud. I still trained hard. I still hit my technique the way we drilled it. I wish I was more active in the clinch like I usually am, but fighting that late at night was something I've never thought you have to train for. It was like 12:30 at night. I'm like, I'm usually in bed by now. So I felt a little flat, but overall with my performance, I was happy. My jab was on point. My movement was on point. My takedown defense was on point. I felt I did a very good job.
Yeah, you mentioned what you do for work. Being a police officer, I know you're a father of three and you're also chasing this journey in mixed martial arts. Is it hard to balance everything going on in your life?
Hard, yes, but very doable. You have to prioritize your life. I mean, as a fighter, you got diet, you got training, you got recovery, was something I'm big on now that I never was before. So that's just fighting your priorities, and then you got, like you said, I got the kids, I got the job, so you got to cut a lot of stuff out, which I'm willing to do. So it is hard, but it's very doable, very doable.
Yeah, I think I've had two other fighters join me on Forge in Ohio who are fighters, obviously, but also have a career in law enforcement. Do you find any correlations between what you do as your day job and then what you do at night training and pursuing your career in fighting?
In a way, I mean, at work, every time you get a call, you always get those butterflies because you never know what can happen. So I guess, in that aspect where you're going into something you don't know what the outcome's going to be, it keeps me sharp because I have to train for that too. I'm still in a way putting my body on the line in law enforcement. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar in that aspect as if for combat, I guess you'd say.
Have you ever had to use like mixed martial arts technique out in the field in your job?
Oh yeah, I'm not a big guy, so
Sure.
everybody wants to test the little guy. So once they find out the hard way, I know a couple things. It saved my butt a lot. But this verbal judo is my main weapon.
All right, back to your title fight. What did it mean to you to actually win your first amateur championship in mixed martial arts?
Man, I know it's just an amateur title, but it meant the world. It's just years and years and years of hard work of saying I wanted to do. I mean, ever since I found MMA, I've been saying I want to be MMA champion. I want to fight in the cage. I want to, and being able, it just, as soon as they handed me that belt, flashbacks of everything I was saying, I'm going to be champion. I'm going to fight. And all those people going, Juan, you're just talking. There goes Juan, being ambitious again. It just felt so good. I felt like I won a UFC title. It was the greatest moment of my career so far. Even Waco, because I didn't really want to do Waco. Glad I did it, but winning that belt, like I said, I know it's just an amateur title. I know there's so many promotions and belts out there, but to me, that moment was one of the greatest moments so far in my athletic career. I felt on top of the world. It was like we did it. Like we did what we said we were going to do.
Yeah, definitely, man. And being a father of three, what was it like bringing that hardware home to your family?
Oh man, it felt great, and my family's very like hard on me for being a fighter. None of them want me to really fight, so it was like I'm telling them I'm bringing home this belt. I better bring home this belt, or I'm gonna hear it. So it was a great moment to see my son hold the belt. He was super excited. He's like, "Oh, you told me you were gonna bring it to me," and yeah, I got the little one with me now. Um, he my son holding the belt. He's like, "You told me you were gonna bring it home." And even better than that, my grandfather, who I consider my father now, um, he he does not want me to fight. He actually told me I shouldn't be fighting when I told him I want to pursue this. So he got to hold the belt and he just started crying, made me cry. It was like it felt like I finally got his approval on this. So that was a very special moment as well.
With that title win, man, why doesn't your family support you? And or they support you, but why don't they want you to fight? Is it just because it's too hard to watch?
Oh, for my mom, yeah. I was the kid that wanted to do all the dangerous stuff. I wanted to wrestle. I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to be a cop. She just doesn't like to watch. I come from a very old school family, so it was like you go to school, you go to work, you provide for your family. That's being successful. So to kind of want to do something like fighting as an occupation and chase that, it's not a realistic thing. So you're not gonna do nothing with fighting. That's just something we watch on TV. And it's weird because my grandfather, I grew up watching boxing with him. I would think he would be, yeah, go out there, go fight. They very old school. It's you go to school, once you graduate, you get a job, you provide for your family, that's it. So doing something like that isn't it doesn't it doesn't sit right with them. Like you want to fight to make money? Like no, you get a job and you go to work. So still some growing, it's growing on them, but I felt that my granddad finally approved that, hey man, this is what you want. I've seen you put your all into this, and showing him what comes out of it, something, just something small that comes out of it, and he's able to see it now. He's a believer. I was going to do it regardless of what they said, but it's just happy that I got him in my corner officially now.
Yeah, do any of them actually attend your fights and support you that way too?
I got a couple aunts, cousins. My mom will not come to one. She actually almost got me ejected from a wrestling match because she came to one and she ran out on the mat. So I'd rather her just stay at home. But yeah, so I do get people that come out to watch me. My granddad actually watched the pay-per-view, so
That's awesome.
that was awesome.
Yeah, and I know this fight in particular was on Thanksgiving Eve. What was the celebration like after the win?
Whew, lots of food, man. Lots and lots of food. I was so happy it was the day before Thanksgiving. So all that fresh food in my face, it was, oh man, pumpkin pie, soda. I don't really eat terrible, but I was eating stuff I don't normally eat, cakes, all these treats, and oh man, just eat till I couldn't eat no more.
Yeah, good man. I'm happy to hear that you let yourself indulge after the win. I feel like that's almost the perfect time to fight, right? Thanksgiving Eve, you get to celebrate after the win, indulge in a big Thanksgiving feast, and then, most fighters wouldn't turn around in a month and they can actually enjoy Christmas as well with Christmas cookies and all that as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Once again, this is Juan Go Hard Goins with us on Forged in Ohio. You're only one of two fighters to ever come on the show with a YouTube channel of their own documenting their combat sports journey. I think this is fantastic, and I'm curious as to why you actually started this journey on YouTube as well.
It's starting to get there.
Sure.
I just wanted to show people, someone like me on the amateur circuit pursuing it, because you always see the pros, and you see the end result. They're already making the money. They already got the sponsorships. You see all the fancy, camera work with their training. I wanted to show kind of like some raw, what someone like me has to go through to get to where they want to be, kind of just from the ground up, till we make it to the big show.
Yeah, I watched a couple of videos. One was about roadblocks in sports and life, and you also talked about overcoming setbacks with having a strong mindset, and another. It takes a lot to be vulnerable like that in such a public way. Why is that so important to you?
I think because it holds me accountable, because I actually go back and watch those videos when I'm down, and it's like, see, that's the guy you need to be. This is the mindset that you have to have, and it's made me stronger. And I know there's people out there like me where you weren't the biggest guy growing up in school. You weren't the strongest, you weren't the fastest, and you might not have special gifts, but you can definitely work towards it. So that's something relatable. I wanted to put relatable content out there. I'm nothing special. I don't. Everything you see is just hard work and consistency. And I just want to put that out there for the regular everyday guy.
Yeah, that's great, man. How often do you actually go back and watch those old videos?
Usually after fights, I look back at my old training just to kind of go, man, this is why we achieved this. And going back to the loss, after a loss, it's like we lost in Waco. We didn't really care about it too much because it's like it's not something we really wanted to do. But then I lost in MMA, And I look back at that video about me losing. I'm like, damn, man, yeah, get your stuff together. You've overcame a loss before. Let's do it again. So it's just getting back to, you know, to those moments and seeing how far I come. I like making them and then going back and watching them.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a clear impact of those videos on yourself, but I have to imagine that there's an impact of them on others too, because just watching them myself, there was a lot of inspiration and motivation found in those videos. Have you received any messages, no matter how small, of how your stories have impacted other people?
A lot of times I get like little comments with like, thanks, man, or keep fighting. So stuff like that's always great. I don't do it for that, but I would hope it reaches somebody that it could inspire them, or it hits somebody on a day that they're down and they see like the overcoming video, or just get inspired by the training footage. Like, hey, that looks cool. I want to do that. So I uh, the little comments that I do get every now and then, those are great. It makes me want to keep making content, and I hope it does inspire and impact people in a positive way.
Yeah, man, I think it's great. In one of your videos, you talked about how your coaches gave you a mantra that you repeat to yourself daily. I know you said this was private, so I won't ask you what it is, but how big of an effect has that had on you in your career?
It's probably the most impactful thing I've ever had in my career in athletics, period. Like, I've never been the type to meditate or sit there and hum. I've never been that type, but I was in a very down place where I always doubted myself. There was always those memories of people telling me I couldn't do something, or you're not good enough. And he just gave me the simple mantra to say to myself, and I repeat it even when I'm not in fights. I'm not in camp. I work out during the morning, or I'm sitting there just relaxing. Sometimes I just say it to myself, either out loud or in my head. It, I believe it. I believe it now, and it's done wonders for me. It's something that small. It just constant affirmation, self affirmation. I'm saying to myself, it's constantly in my head. I say it while I'm training. I say it, while I'm sitting down relaxing. I'll say it, backstage getting ready for the fight. Sometimes in the fight, as I'm throwing punches, I'm saying it. It's just it it's done wonders for me, and I'm so grateful that I opened my mind up to doing something like that, because mental training is a thing. You have to do it. And there was times where I'd be walking out to a competition, and I'm going, I don't know if I'm ready. It's like, damn it, yes you are. Just believe in yourself. And the little self affirmation, something as little as self affirmation, it's done wonders for my mental, for my training, for my everyday life. Period. It's made me a better person, and a definitely more confident person. And I have so much more belief in myself than when I first started.
Yeah, do you still struggle with self-doubt from time to time, or when you do, does it kind of creep right in, you say that mantra and you push it right back out?
Yeah, I believe everybody does. That's my opinion. I think everybody just a little bit. Before it was bad. I'm not gonna lie. It used to be very bad. But yes, when that little voice starts creeping up, that mantra, it stuffs it back down, because it's like the mantra, it brings back. It's more than just the words. It brings back everything that I've done, everything that I've accomplished, all the pain and suffering I put myself through to get to where I'm at right now. So I start saying that over and over, and it just stuffs it right back down. And saying it every day, it's just that voice gets, smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, it sounds like it not only has an effect on your self-doubt and bringing you self-affirmation as well, but also in terms of just calming you down and the nerves and stress of what you do, not only as your job, but, being a father and fighting like we just mentioned.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's helped me tremendously, and I'll keep saying it all the way up until we win big belts and big organizations, and I'm gonna keep saying it. That's something I'm definitely gonna keep keep incorporated in my training and in my everyday life. Period.
Yeah, for sure, man. Do you plan to keep your YouTube channel going as you progress further on in your athletic career?
Oh yeah, it's especially since we're uh, on a on a streak right now, getting the recognition, promotions reading out, podcasts reaching out. It's definitely the more notoriety. I want to put more content out.
Yeah, definitely, man, and I can't wait for it. Last one for you, man. Coming off your amateur title win in November, when can fans expect to see you back in the cage in 2024?
Um, Hopefully after Waco, or whenever they call to for me to defend that belt, or if somebody offers me another belt, as long as I'm healthy, I don't shy away from competition. I welcome anybody who wants a shot at the champ. So I'm always training. I take like a week, maybe week or two off just to celebrate with family for the holidays. But I'm continuously training. So as long as I'm healthy, whenever they call, I'll oblige the challenger. So I'm looking maybe March, since I'm doing Waco in February. So maybe March, if there's anything going on, I'll definitely want to stay active. If not more than I did this year, next year.
Yeah, that would be incredible, man. I think 2024 is going to have a lot in store for you, and I think it's going to be a great year for yourself, and it should be an exciting one, that's for sure. Before we wrap up, man, anything you want to shout out or plug here at the back end of the podcast?
First and foremost, I want to shout out Rising Dragon, all my guys over there, Taiwan Howard, Alonzo Harvey, John McGinnis, my coaches, Tobias Freight Train Taylor, my number one guy. The guy's incredible. He's a pro. He has a kickboxing fight coming up in January. You guys check it out. I'll be at the Akron Civic Center. My Instagram's Go Hard Goins. Give me a follow. Same as my YouTube channel, Go Hard Goins. Check out the journey. And yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks again, Juan, for joining me on the show. I really enjoyed talking to fighters for the first time on here, and you're truly talented at what you do, showcased by your recent success in 2023. Before I let you go, I do like to end these chats with the infamous OHIO chant. So if you'd help me out here, OH.
IO!
Thanks, Juan. I appreciate the time. I'm excited to see what you accomplish in 2024, and you bet we'll be talking again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
That was Juan Go Hard Goins, the 4-1 amateur mixed martial artist and Bizarro Promotions bantamweight champion. I feel like this guy is deserving of some more recognition. Sure, he fought once in 2021 and 2022, but he's had as good a 2023 as you could ask for as he continues to develop in combat sports. I mentioned it at the top, and yes, this will be the final episode of Forged in Ohio in 2023. The next two Mondays are, of course, Christmas and New Year's Day. So Monday, January 15th will be the next episode of Forged in Ohio. I'm going to spend time with family, enjoy the holidays, and I hope you all do the same as well. And I have some tricks up my sleeve for Forged in Ohio when we return in 2024 that you won't want to miss. I can't wait for what's going to be a banger of a year for the show. Until then, don't forget to download episodes of Forged in Ohio and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Also, at Forged in Ohio on both Instagram and Facebook. You'll want to check out those platforms for news and a whole lot more about the show. As always, thanks for watching or tuning in. Happy holidays once again. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.